This is advertising management. Welcome to our online discussion. This is lesson number one, part one. We'll be talking on the nature of communication. Now we will begin with the question on what is advertising? What advertising is, all right? But that's I think one of the most abused word aside from the word marketing, right? The word advertising. Pretty much everyone around the world actually knows what advertising is by description, what advertising is in the context of an actual sense of the word advertising. And I very well know, and I very well understand that you also have a kind of understanding on what advertising is. And so no need to philosophically define what advertising is. But for the sake of this discussion, of course, we will be trying to understand what advertising is in the sense that we'll be able to, at some point, deepen on our understanding on what advertising is all about. What we know for sure is that advertising in general have been the primary means by which corporations are actually using in order to educate their customers and consumers with regards to their product offering, with regards to the benefit of that particular product, and even sometime in the past where there is still no internet connection, no internet in the face of the world, all right, so people are still using advertising in the form of traditional mediums such as newspapers, right? Some posters and pamphlets. At some other point, they were actually using uh, radio, television, and of course, they're still using that one right now. But they're more or less using social media as a primary tool in this particular era of internet boom. All right, so we will define what an advertising is by looking at different characteristics which are attached to the word advertising. And so advertising is a form of marketing communication. It is a form of marketing communication. We should understand the word communication, meaning there is a particular sender and there is a medium and a receiver. That's the basic thing in communication, meaning it is a marketing communication. Advertising is a marketing communication, meaning advertising is a part and parcel of marketing. All right. And so when you're studying marketing, probably many of you who are watching in this video are taking business administration with subjects in marketing communication. And because you have your subject, all right, so you have to learn what advertising is. And this is one of the most visible part of marketing. Advertising is the most visible part of marketing, right? So it is a marketing communication that is openly sponsored. Now, when we talk about open sponsorship, meaning that there is a particular company or a particular individual that is openly sponsoring or providing an identity over that particular product, and there is a particular intention of why is it that those particular products are being shown in varied platforms. So it is a clear intention. So when you look at an advertising on television, there is a clear intention and you exactly know who is that particular individual group, persons, or probably a corporation is behind that particular advertising because it is openly sponsored. It is paid for by the sponsoring agency. The next thing is it is a non-personal message. It is more or less a kind of communication, a kind of marketing communication that is not a personal message. More often than not, you'll probably send messages to your loved ones. You'll probably send a text message saying, I love you, and your loved one sana all, will also reply on you and probably reply, I love you too. That's a basic personal communication that you will be interchanging with your friends, or probably your loved ones, your parents, or probably the love of your life. That's in that particular case. Now, that is a that is a personal message. Now, advertising is a non-personal message. When you're doing advertising, you will not tell to everyone I love you, because that would be so inappropriate. So the best thing that you have to do is you have to do a non-personal message. It is a kind of message that is applicable to everyone and all people who are watching and that particular advertising. More specifically, those people who are within your market niche or target audience or target market. Next is, of course, advertising is actively promoting or selling particular products, right? If you look at on the television, when there are advertising, of course, it should sell a particular product. It promotes a particular brand, right? What is a brand? What is a product? Well, a brand is an identity of a particular product. Now, what is a product? A product could be tangible and intangible product, or it is probably divided into two: goods and services. Goods are actual product that you will receive. Now, let's say, for example, you purchase a phone. Now, when you purchase a phone, you will receive, of course, an actual phone. And that is the actual product or the goods, the goods of that particular sense, the tangible product. Now, the next thing that you will receive also, apart from the actual product that you receive, is the services, right? Now, that services is something that you will not own, but probably you can experience. Let's say, for example, your phone get broken, and so you are going to probably have the manufacturer of that particular phone repair your unit, and so that free repair is an example of a service or services for that matter. And so when we are talking about advertising as a means of promotion and selling products, then that's pretty much it. It sells both tangible and intangible product. And by the way, if you want to have a deeper understanding on what advertising is, there is a QR code in your screen. You can scan that QR code, or probably um, screenshot your screen on your phone, and then search for your QR code scanner, and you'll be redirected to a website that discusses what advertising is. Now, we talk about advertising as a marketing communication, and so it is rightful that we will understand what communication is. And I pretty well understand that you are not probably taking AB English or mass communication for that instance, but we will try to understand what communication is, because this is a prerequisite on understanding what advertising is all about, right? So what is communication in that particular sense? So communication actually have different levels, I mean different elements in it, wherein the message traverses through different stages. Now, communication is actually the means by which messages are being sent to a different stages all the way to the sender, and that the sender will also send some kind of a reply to the message being sent, and that is precisely what communication is. And so we will begin with the sender, right? And then the sender crafts the message by the process of encoding. Encoding of the message will depend on what kind of medium, transmission device, that you will use in sending that particular message. If it will be on a phone, of course, encoding would be an actual encoding of text message. right? Or probably if it is in a form of a picture, it is a means by which that picture should represent what the message is all about. It is the capturing of that particular picture. And transmission or transmission devices are actually dependent on what particular available medium that you can use in order that you can send effectively the message to your target audience. So that is the transmission. In our case, in this particular video, we are using YouTube as a transmission device, the internet as a transmission device. So here I am, I'm recording this particular video on an OBS studio. So this is encoding, and then I'll be uploading this, and here you are watching in this video. So you are looking at it on a transmission device, and you are decoding every words that I'm talking in this recording. Whatever is it that I'll be speaking here and is recorded, you'll be decoding it because you as a receiver should have to understand what the message is all about, right? And so that's the communication process. In a cycle, this is the communication process, right? We have the sender. The sender will encode the message that will be transmitted into different devices, all right? And then the receiver will decode the message in order that the receiver may or may not understand. And then the next thing that will happen is the receiver will send a feedback, right? Now, if you notice, every transfer, right, of the message into different stages of the communication process, there are noise. Now, what is noise, right? Well, consider this particular example. You are talking to your friend. Here you are. You're talking to your friend, and you're talking to your friend in a disco, in a disco bar. So it's so loud that you cannot even hear the voice of your friend. Now, the higher probability is you will not be able to get the message of your friend. Probably you'll just be nodding as if you understand the message, but you did not understand the message in the first place because it's so loud. That's an example of a noise, right? A noise is anything, all right, that distorts and disrupts the message. Anything that distorts and disrupts the message. Like, let's say, for example, you're watching in this particular video and you have a pretty unreliable internet connection, which is a probability, right? If you're watching this and you have problem with your internet connection, so the probability is you will experience noise, especially if the video is buffering or loading, and you will not be able to exactly get the totality of the message in one instance. So that is particular example. That is a particular example of a noise. All right. So noise actually distorts the communication process. So probably the receiver, if you are advertising on a radio and there is a poor reception on the radio, the receiver might, not understand the message, and at the end of the day, it will not purchase your product. But if your message is very clear on a television which is connected to a cable wire, or probably on the internet, where the message is very clear, there is a greater probability that your receiver will get exactly what you mean, and the receiver will also respond in accordance to what you want the receiver to respond on your message. Now, in this particular sense, we will not just stop on looking at advertising in itself, but we will be adapting into a particular scenario wherein the modern marketing landscape requires. That is not only about mere advertising, right? But it's already about IMC, or integrated marketing communication. Huh? It is about integrated marketing communication, not only about advertising, but it's already about marketing communication. What is an integrated marketing communication? Well, it is the coordination and integration of all marketing communication tools, avenues, and sources and resources of the company to a seamless program designated to maximize the impact on customers and other stakeholders. So the traditional advertising method is actually merely feeding information to our target audience. Well, that's no longer the case now. The modern way of advertising is already the integrated marketing communications, wherein these particular elements are coordinated into one seamless program that designed to maximize the impact on customers and other stakeholders. Now, when dealing with integrated marketing communication, of course, you know, the traditional advertising will no longer be a viable strategy. All right, the traditional advertising, like pamphlets, like those posters and all other things, although they have at some point particular return, but in the case of the modern time, the requirement will no longer be based on the traditional advertising, because the power channel has already shifted, which we'll be discussing later on. We will no longer be relying so much on television, on the radio, on the newspaper, printed newspapers, right, and all other platforms that are in the realm of the traditional medium of advertising. That would be a thing in the past. We will no longer be using that, right? Although there are still instances that will still be using radio and television, because probably in the third world countries, uh, they are still watching television, and they are still watching analog television, or probably some digital television is already coming into the market. But in the case of the first world countries, where digital television is the primary source, we'll no longer be feeding our advertising on traditional analog television, but we will be on the digital television. Or probably you'll be advertising on not a television, but on Netflix. All right? Probably you'll be advertising on different mediums, such as YouTube and other platforms. All right. So traditional advertising, that will slowly be a thing in the past. All right. So the next thing that we have to understand when dealing with integrated marketing communication is the marketing mix. Of course, we very well know who is the proponent of the marketing mix, and that is in the person of Philip Kotler. Right? Philip Kotler is the icon of marketing. He is the person who actually made marketing into some kind of an understandable field in a series of books, around 100 books, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so we have the marketing mix. This is a very famous mix, right? So we have product, price, promotion, and place. Right, so advertising management belong into this particular element, which is promotion. And so many of those, are actually interchanging the word marketing to advertising. Well, certainly that is not the case. That should not supposed to be the case, because marketing is a broader context, and advertising is not even an element of marketing, right? advertising is only an element of promotion, which is an element of marketing. So it's quite far. It is a small portion of marketing. So you cannot interchange the word marketing and advertising. All right. So here are the elements of promotion. Number one, of course, we have advertising. In advertising, in general sense, we also have marketing or digital marketing. All right. Then we have the social media. This is actually the most recent elements of promotion, right? And then we have social media. We have alternative mediums or alternative media. We have database marketing, which we'll be discussing in the later portion in this particular series of videos with regards to this advertising management course. Next is direct response or probably direct selling at that particular point. So we have direct selling. Then we have sales promotion. Sales promotion is, of course, the traditional, it is a traditional element of promotion. And then we have public relation. These are the elements of promotions. So when dealing with marketing or marketing communication or advertising, we cannot go to a particular advertising campaign without an initial marketing plan, right? We have to plan whatever it is that we have to do, the advertising that we have to do. Of course, we have to take into consideration the current situation analysis. What is it? What is the current situation analysis? What is the surrounding environment? What is the current trends in the environment around us? And how do we respond into that? And of course, we have to employ the most famous analysis in terms of marketing and management, right? So we have SWOT analysis, the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, which will give us the total picture, right, of what is the environment around us and the internal capacity of that particular company or your particular company. The next thing is you have to set the objectives. Set the objectives. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? That is the marketing objective. Who are your target audience? Let's say, for example, if you're selling adult diapers, of course, your target audience are those people who have parents, all right, that are probably in the 60s or 70s that are suffering certain kinds of diseases that, you know, adult diapers are used, or probably on hospitals. Those are your target hospitals wherein people are using adult diapers, right? Or probably those who are pregnant, right? You know why? Because when pregnant women actually deliver a baby, they will wear adult diapers. So that's probably a target market if you're selling adult diapers. So your advertising will also be focused on those kind of market segments. Marketing strategies. What is your long-term plan in delivering your message? Right? What is your long-term plan in delivering your message? What are your specific plans? Long-term plans, let's say, for example, transitioning from the traditional medium into the modern digital media. And how are you going to arrive at that? That is your marketing tactics. So day by day, you have to change your strategies from printing pamphlets or printing some kind of a catalog, whatsoever is that, into different digital platform, like starting to use YouTube or starting to use Facebook at that particular point. That's your marketing tactics, and you have to progress that one day by day so that at the end of a particular period, your strategy will be met. And then you have to plan implementation. How long will that implementation be? All right? And the next thing is evaluation. You have to evaluate how have you been doing in the past several months that you have been implementing your marketing communications plan. That's no longer advertising in a sense, but will be marketing communications plan. It is a broader thing that is also dependent on the current level of competitiveness that is available or that is intervening in the market today. Of course, we have to do planning because a dream without a plan is just a nightmare. Thank you for watching. See you in the next lesson.